Good afternoon and welcome back everybody to the next edition of Alteryx tutorials. I am Mark Thompson with Watermark Data and I'm going to be walking you through challenge number 54 this afternoon. This is a challenge that focuses on regex. I had a request on my last video in the comments to see about doing a challenge that worked on regex, and so here we go. First thing I want to talk about is regex itself, and understand, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, that it's effectively a programming language all in itself. It's outside of and independent of Alteryx. Alteryx leverages it and uses its power, but regex can be used in Python or whatever. Okay, it's a huge language. To totally do a focused session on regex, you can take and do a course, a full course on regex. It's that robust, it's that complete, it's that complex. So this is going to be covering some of the basics and some of the things that we do with regex inside of Alteryx. Okay, so challenge 54 is essentially a simple in concept where it's taking an address and it's busting it out and it's breaking it into its address, street, city, state, and zip. Straightforward, right? So what I do is I take this and I run it through my regex, and we'll get more into this in a minute. And it comes out of the regex, and then I combine a couple of the columns back together, and then I clear a couple of them out. I get rid of the original text and the direction and the street suffix, and then I do a little cleanup where if you look back at this column, I've got some blank spaces here, so I throw this cleanup on there and it gets rid of the blanks. And at the end, what we've got is an address, street, city, state, and zip. All right? Now, let's break into the focus of today's lesson, which is the regex itself. So I'm going to come down here, and I am going to start by not having anything in there, right? So you look at it, and what column am I parsing? I'm going to parse the address text. And my first part of this, I am just going to take the first piece of that 0 to 9 in those parentheses. That parenthesis and that parenthesis is what creates this column right here. And then if I want to, I can rename this, right? Easy. So let's go ahead and run it and see what we got. And boom, there it is. I have broken off the first part. I've broken out the numbers. Now, I generally will build it left to right, and I'll go piece by piece by piece as I'm doing it so that I make sure I get it right. So let's go ahead and add in a period, asterisk, and as soon as I put that second parentheses, you'll notice that I now have a regex out number 2. If I go ahead and run this, show you what we got. Now I'm looking at the regex out. And I'm looking at all of the stuff that comes after those first numbers that I broke out. Next piece I want to look at is, so I've got this space right here, right? So I'm going to stick the symbol for space, which is the \s, and whether it's 1 or more, that's why I've got that plus sign there. And then I run it. And boom, I no longer have the space in front of it. Now note that I did not put S in parentheses. If I do that, I create another column, but I'm creating a column of single space. I don't need that. So I don't need the parentheses around it. It doesn't need to be one of the columns that I'm pulling out. So now I've got this what I call the everything expression. Is just give me the house, right? And that's not really what I want. What I really want, and I'm just going to come up here and steal it off of this, is I want this parenthesis to parenthesis. right? So I want to take and get the next piece, which is if it says north, south, east, or west, and notice they're broken up by the straight up and down bar, right? And I put it in parentheses. I now have a second one that's parentheses. So let's just call this direction. And then, you know what? You've already seen this, so I'm going to go ahead and just do it right now. And boom, what do we got? Oh, I must not have copied something correctly. So you know what? I'm going to come up here and just steal it. And I hit this again, and I've got my address, my direction, and now everything that's after the direction. So what is the next piece? The next piece says, now mind you, REGEX is a programming language, right? So there are a lot of different ways to do this. I happen to say, give me a parentheses here, and get rid of this, where it is A to, well, I gotta have my square bracket, and then what the square bracket does is say effectively anything that's in here. So A to Z, capital letters, and then I close my square bracket. I say, as many as you got, give them to me, right? And then I close my paren, and what do I get? I get another column. And then, you know what? I still want to see everything that's coming afterwards, so I'm going to give it that asterisk space again. Go here, and boom. Now we are looking at the direction of the street, if it's a north and south, or if it's not, whether it exists or whether it doesn't. And that is dictated, whether it is or whether it doesn't, by that little asterisk. 0 or more. 0 or more. And then we've got a space, and then we've got our first word right here. Now, mind you, it's simpler that way I don't get any mistypes. I'm going to add in both the space without brackets and another word. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab the next space. So now, if I go ahead and I add that onto what we've been doing, and oh, by the way, put that back, and then I run it. Now you start to see the words broken out. So now I've got this, and I can call this, you know, the suffix, for example. Street, and then the suffix. All right, I run that again, and look what we got. Street suffix, whether it's a circle, street, drive, street, road, av, avenue, st for street, it doesn't care. It doesn't care. And now I've still got all this stuff, and you know what? Just for sizing, we're going to take a look here, and we've got these cities, and we've got the state, and we still got the zip code left to do, right? So what is the next thing? What is the next piece that we have in line here? And that is, we're going to take another word, but we've already finished out. We've already finished out the street. So any other words, including a space, right? Any other words, including a space. So if I go ahead and I stick that on the end here, and I'm just going to paste it in between the actual space. Whoops. That's not a problem I want to have. And then I run it. Let's see what we get. Now I've got Lisbon, Augusta, but here we've got a little bit of a problem, right? And that is it cut it off when it got the first space. Now, it included this space, but it only it did not include an additional set of words. So once it ran into a space, it effectively stopped, right? So where are we at? Because I cast, let's see, we should have a space in there and not a space after it. Okay, that's not what we want. So let's see what happens now. And this is the kind of experimenting that you go on. Great, this is actually exactly what I wanted. So it's capturing all of the words, and you can see that the zip code is out here and it's separated, right? Now, one of the things that you need to do is be able to break off this two-letter uppercase. So specifically, when I come in here and I add that next piece, which is a column right there, and I'm going to go ahead and add the space after it that says, hey, I am looking exactly for, specifically for, and break it out separately. By the way, there's this little cheat right here that will give you a guide. And if you come down here, you can look and see uppercase /U is uppercase, right? So when I go ahead and I loop that in, and I put the space into it, it's now looking specifically for uppercase. And in that curly bracket right there of 2, that means that it's 2, and now it's a space, and now it's looking for everything else. And so now I go ahead and run it. And quite frankly, I could finish it off at that. But in my case, I actually didn't just leave it at, hey, give me asterisk star. I actually called out an entirely separate zip code. And by the way, 1 or 0 of those occurrences. And so I go and I stick it here on the end instead of this, hey, give me everything after the space. And I stick that in. I click it. I run it. And voila, we've got this. Now, I can come over here and I can get rid of the text address. And back here after the suffix, I can go ahead and put in city, date, and of course zip. And then we're effectively at this point in the one up here. I could stick a formula file in here and get it down to combining the direction and the street and the suffix, which is what we've got. We've got the direction, the street, and the suffix. I could throw a formula in there. But this is it. It's all done right there. So if you have any questions, feel free. If you've got any comments, please drop them in. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. Please share to your friends. Let them know. And if you'd like to see anything else, like somebody asked for the REGEX in a future edition, please feel free to let me know. It would be great. And we will look forward to seeing you next time from Watermark Data. Signing out.